Hey guys, so as we look into the history of ancient Chinese painting, we're going to be looking at a little bit more detail about how they painted and what was kind of the idea of the painting. So I've put in this article and I'm just going to read a little bit for you. It is all about Chinese painting. As you can see on the screen, we have some beautiful Chinese paintings here, but I'm just going to go down to this third paragraph and read a little bit to you about what the style or the expectation of the Chinese painting was. So this is the aim of the traditional Chinese painter, to capture not only the outer appearance of a subject, but its inner essence as well, its energy, life force, and spirit. To accomplish his goal, the Chinese painter, more often than not, rejected the use of color. Like the photographer who prefers to work in black and white, the Chinese artist regarded color as distraction. He also rejected the changeable qualities of light and shadow as a means of modeling, along with opaque pigments to conceal mistakes. Instead, he relied on the line, the incredible mark of the inked brush. So again, when we're looking at these Chinese paintings, it's more about feeling the essence or the mood or the vibe of what's going on. It's not really to do anything that is photorealistic. It's all about the interpretation of what the artist is trying to draw. And again, they preferred to work in black and white ink, or I shouldn't say black and white ink, but black ink on paper. And they kind of refused to use color at first. Like they said, color was somewhat of a distraction. They also did not want to use any opaque pigments, so any pigments that you couldn't see through. So when we look at these traditional Chinese paintings, we'll see that a lot of them are washes. They're ink that has been watered down so you can see underneath through the paper. So they're a little bit more transparent. And the reason why they did that is because they felt that using opaque colors, colors that you can't see through, pretty much just hide mistakes. And instead, they wanted to rely on just focusing on the line and the artistry and really the concentration that it takes to focus on those types of paintings. The discipline that requires this kind of mastery derives from the practice of calligraphy. Traditionally, every literate person in China learned how to write as a child by copying the standard forms of Chinese ideographs. The student was gradually exposed to different stylistic interpretations of these characters. He copied the great calligrapher's manuscripts, which were often preserved on carved stones so that the rubbings could be made. He also was exposed to the way in which the forms of the ideographs had evolved, their earliest appearance on bronzes, stones, and bones at about 1300 BC, known today as what we call seal script. Their gradual regularization culminating with the bureaucratic proliferation of documents by government clerks during the 2nd century AD, or clerical script, their artful simplification into abbreviated forms, running or cursive scripts, and then the fusion of these forms put in together what we call standard script, in which individually articulated brushstrokes that make up each character are integrated into the dynamically balanced whole. Over time, the practitioner evolved his own personal style, one that was a distillation or reinterpretation of earlier models. So we look a lot at calligraphy, and calligraphy is very important in ancient Chinese or just in Chinese culture altogether. It has evolved over time, as many art forms do. They start in one way, and then they kind of, like they said, have been reinterpreted or reproduced in a different way based on people's styles. So we started originally with calligraphy that was kind of inscribed on bronzes, bones, different types of mediums, and then eventually it became to where in about 200 CE is really when we start seeing calligraphy using ink and paper and brushes. And so the transformation of calligraphy has been very important to the Chinese culture, but calligraphy in general is just very important.